sorry for the wait. We were hoping some more people would come before we begin, but I guess it's a good time to begin right now. So let's have one more salat, please. So before we begin our program, I'm just going to speak a little bit about the organizers of today's event. So for those of you who've seen the flyers or the Facebook invitations, you know that it's Al-Qaim group that is organizing this event today. So I'm sure you know many of the organizers. There's Alia over here, Sister Alia, Sister Maria, Sister Masuma, Brother Fahad, and several other people, including myself, who aren't here today because they weren't able to make it. But inshallah, the group is growing, and if you have interest in this group, if you want to be more active, if you want to contribute to any events that we have in the future, let us know. And as long as you contribute, then you can have us place in this group, and we can have more events, and we can have more creative ideas for the future. So our purpose as Al-Qaim group is to have events for the English community. Now, we're called youth group, but really this event is for everybody. If you're an adult, or if you're young, or even if you're a small brother or small sister, you're welcome to come, because it's mainly for the English language. Because inshallah, alhamdulillah, we have plenty of programs in Urdu language, we have plenty of programs in Arabic. There's various centers in New York. Many people go to everywhere, but we want to have one place where you can rely upon to go, maybe once every month, once every 2 weeks. A place you can go to have an English event. You can, if you want to express yourself, you can let us know, and then maybe we can have a poetry session. You can read an English poem before any event that we have. So give us your suggestions. Let us know if you have any contributions, and inshallah we can incorporate that into our events. So with that, I'm going to call upon Brother Mehdi to start us off with a recitation of the Holy Quran. Let's have a loud salawat for Brother Mehdi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One more salawat, please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين كفروا وصدوا عن سبيل الله أضل أعمالهم، والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وآمنوا بما أنزل على محمد وهو الحق من ربهم كفر عن سيئاتهم وأصلح بالهم. ذلك بأن الذين كفروا اتبعوا الباطل وأن الذين آمنوا اتبعوا الحق من ربهم كذلك يضرب الله للناس أمثالهم. فإذا لقيتم الذين كفروا فضرب الرقاب حتى إذا أثخنتموهم فشدوا الوثاق، فإما منا بعد وإما فداء حتى تدع الحرب أوزارها. ذلك ولو يشاء الله لانتصر منهم ولكن ليبلو بعضكم ببعض، والذين قتلوا في سبيل الله فلن يضل أعمالهم. سيهديهم ويصلح بالهم ويدخل الجنة عرفها لهم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن تنصروا الله ينصركم ويثبت أقدامكم. والذين كفروا فتعسا لهم وأضل أعمالهم. ذلك بأنهم كرهوا ما أنزل الله فأحبط أعمالهم. أفلم يسيروا في الأرض فينظروا كيف كان عاقبة الذين من قبلهم دمر الله عليهم وللكافرين أمثالهم. ذلك بأن الله مولى الذين آمنوا وأن الكافرين لا مولى لهم. إن الله يدخل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار، والذين كفروا يتمتعون ويأكلون كما تأكلون الأنعام والنار مثوى لهم. وكأي من قرية هي أشد قوة من قريتك التي أخرجتك أهلكناهم فلا ناصر لهم. أفمن كان على بينة من ربه كما زين له سوء عمله واتبعوا أهواءهم مثل الجنات التي وعد المتقين فيها أنهار من ماء غير آس أنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعامه وانهار من خمر لذة للشاربين وانهار من عسل مصفى ولهم فيها من كل الثمرات مغفرة من ربهم كمن هو خالد في النار وسقاء حميم فقطع أمعاءهم ومنهم من يستمع إليك حتى إذا أخرجوا من عندك قالوا للذين أوتوا العلم ماذا قال آنفا أولئك الذين تبع الله قلوبهم واتبعوا أهواءهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Mehdi. I'm sure that was a very difficult passage to read. Thank you. Lots of salawat again for Brother Mehdi.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So, to begin, we're going to have a short PowerPoint presentation for you guys. Hopefully we don't bore you. Sister Alia will help me out with this. So today's event is for the birth of the Holy Prophet, but we're going to try to focus on the Akhlaq of the Holy Prophet, because you know, a lot of times we hear many stories, we hear a lot of history, we hear a lot of fiqh, but unfortunately we don't get that much Akhlaq. So it's important to remind ourselves constantly about even the most basic things, the basic teachings of the Holy Prophet, about his Akhlaq, so we can use that to apply it to our own lives, so we can improve ourselves and be better people. It sounds cheesy, but that's a very important pillar that we need to apply to ourselves as Muslims, our Akhlaq, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat other people. So here is a hadith from Bihar al-Anwar by the Prophet Mohammad. So I'll just read this for you guys. Blessed be those who are fortunate to live in the time of Qaim of my Ahl al-Bayt, for those who believe in him during his occultation and before his advent, who would love his friends and remain aloof from his enemies. Such people would be my closest ones and my friends on the Day of Judgment. So we just wanted to highlight this hadith because as a group with the name Al-Qaim, we think it's important for everyone to, you know, create some sort of relationship with the Imam of our time, Imam Mehdi alayhi salam. And the way we create a relationship is by following the teachings of the Holy Prophet, following the teachings of all the Imams after him, to celebrate their births, to celebrate everything that they did in their life, all their accomplishments, everything that they've given to us through their teachings, through their writings, through hadith. And we can do that by loving them and by following their practice. Right? So, I'm sure everyone already here is part of the Facebook group, but if you aren't, here's a look at our Facebook page, the Al-Qaim Youth Group, and over here I very sloppily circled the email sign-up button, which I recently added. So if you aren't already on our mailing list, you can go on our Facebook page and click on that email sign-up button, and once you click on it, it'll take you to the next page, which is very simple. You just enter in your email address and your name and last name, and hit subscribe, which is the button on the bottom. And inshallah in the future, we won't spam you guys, so don't be afraid. We will just send you invitations to our future events, which we'll probably have once a month or bi-weekly. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to hand this over to Alia, to Sister Alia, to speak about Muslim in the news. Big salawat for Sister Alia. Oh, I want to call Sister Masuma as well. Sorry.
One more salawat, please. This is a segment that we call Muslims in the News, and inshallah we want to start most of our events with this little segment. It's basically going to be on current events related to, obviously, Muslims. It's a little bit of a misnomer because these these current events that we're going to speak about are not really shown in the Western media, which makes it even more important for us as a community to know what is happening with our people, you know, and ideally come together and think of solutions and, you know, discuss what is happening in the world, and, you know, and if nothing else, at least, you know, give du'as for those that are suffering in our community. So the first thing that we would like to discuss, probably everyone is already aware of this and better than me, is the Shia genocide that is happening in the world. And it is important that we use the correct terminology. I know in at least Western media, if you read the New York Times, it's always, oh, sectarian violence. Sectarian violence, it's Sunni versus Shia. It's something that can never be, you know, it's been happening since centuries, and you know, you can never stop it, and you know that's false. It's not Sunni versus Shia. It's a specific targeted killing of those who follow in the footsteps of Imam Ali al-Islam and those who do azadari for Imam Hussein al-Islam. So specifically one country, because I'm biased and I'm Pakistani, so I'm going to start with Pakistan. So please, so sorry for that. So in Pakistan, recently, I don't know if people have heard, at least in the past year, 500 Shias have been killed, and it's by a group previously called Sipai Sahaba, but now they've changed their name to Ahl-Sunnat wal Jamaat. Since the 1990s, actually, this has been going on, and probably, actually, I mean, to be honest, since the time of Imam Ali Islam, Shias have been being killed. But in Pakistan, since the 1990s, at least 4,000 Shias have been murdered. How have they been killed? Either through suicide bombs. When they're doing julus, then people are waiting in the alleyways with knives or bombs to kill them. There's been people in our community in Al-Qaim whose relatives, they were just sleeping at home, and their homes were busted into, and while their women and children were sleeping, you know, the dads and the brothers and other members of their family were killed, you know, and it's all, and again, by different remote control bombs, straight fire, there's many ways. So this is a picture of a protest in Quetta, which is a place in Pakistan. So there were, I think, at least 86 bodies, I think. So there were 86 Shias that were murdered, and finally the Shias in Quetta decided to come together and protest against the Pakistani government, at least the regional government. And they said, we will not bury our dead bodies. We will sit here in the cold with our dead bodies until something is done. You know, at least they, you know, eventually, I think after 3-4 days, the governor of that province was removed. But unfortunately, I just saw in the news too that after these bodies were finally buried and the Shias went home, another protest is happening to protest against this protest, basically. The non-Shia members, most of them are saying that no, how can, you know, the governor of this province be kicked out? You know, you can't just do that. So kind of trying to undo what the Shias have, you know, worked so hard for. And again, the genocide continues in Pakistan. I think just recently some more members have been killed. Another place where Shias have been suffering is Bahrain. Does anyone know anything about Bahrain? Okay. So in Bahrain, it is being controlled, being ruled over by the Al-Khalifa regime. And there have been many demonstrations and protests against this Al-Khalifa regime, and I'll talk to you later about why. And this regime has detained many and you know, oppressed many protesters and doctors and scholars of the followers of so a little bit back history. So the Bahraini uprising began last 2 years ago in February 2011. And the reason why was because the Shias were not being treated as full citizens of the country. They were not being given their full civil rights. They were being discriminated against in obtaining jobs and receiving, you know, benefits and services. So they wanted to get a democratically elected government, right? Something we think that in the United States, and we should all be proud of, a democratically elected government. However, the regime is not too keen on that, and so they've been protesting and trying to put down the Shias there. And America has been also providing the regime with weapons, communication equipment, helicopters, missile system. Another reason for the protests were Bahrain, when they got Google Maps, the Shias went online and saw these maps, and of course it really angered them. So if you see that big box over there, that is a big, nice, beautiful plot of land owned by a member of the ruling family. And here, this tinier plot of land is where it's like a town of a bunch of a lot of Shia people who are living in poverty and not really great conditions. So of course they saw that. They're like, look at this one big plot of land. It's twice as big as our entire town. So they were quite upset, and that is the thing that they're protesting against. Again, same here. It's a nice big plot of land owned by someone of the ruling family, and here we see an obviously overcrowded area of the population. Okay, so next we move to Indonesia. Does anyone know anything about Indonesia? Okay, well, oh yes.
Largest Muslim population.
Yes, awesome. It is the largest Muslim population in the world. And so, you know, it also has quite a bit of a Shia population as well. But of course, not everyone is happy about that. So last August, there was an Indonesian village. I don't know if people have heard about this. But there was a mob of about 500 people who came to the village and burned down the houses and injured a lot of people. Basically displaced those Shias. So that was in August, and then there were local authorities that were at least helping somewhat the Shias by giving them supplies and medical services. But in December, they stopped doing that job. Then in January, the police that were at least helping to defend the community a little bit, they stopped doing that job too. So now the Shias have no protection, and they have no housing, right? So they're displaced, living in inadequate conditions. And according to Amnesty International, the International World Health Organization, the authorities and the government in Indonesia, they've given the villagers until March to convert to the more dominant religion, which is Sunni Islam, in order for them to return to their homes. It's something that is very unjust. And so before I go on to the next segment, this is, and I'm sure people know more than me about Shias and Muslims in general suffering all around the world, whether it's in Yemen, Syria, you know, Lebanon, Iraq, Palestine. But you know, the reason we talk about this because we want to like know like why is this so important to us, right? So anyone want to venture a guess why it's important?
Okay, Assalamualaikum. So one of the reasons that we decided to have this segment is just because in general we should be knowledgeable and aware about our surroundings and specifically what's happening to Muslims across the world. And one might think that we just learned about 3 different countries, Pakistan, Indonesia, and Bahrain, and they're so far away, why does it affect us? And especially like in colleges and campuses, we have this very sheltered mentality to only focus on news that's local. But aside from knowing about what's going on in different places, especially our Muslim Ummah, we just wanted to share a hadith of the Holy Prophet Mohammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in this hadith, the Holy Prophet says that the Muslim Ummah is like the human body. And just like in a body, if the head is hurt and it's injured, the whole body is suffering. And that's akin to the way that we perceive our ummah. That if one part of the Muslim ummah is in pain or is undergoing some sort of injustice, then that should affect all of us personally and hit home to us. Even though I may not know someone in Indonesia or I may not know someone in Bahrain, and a lot of us do know people back in Pakistan, but even though we may have moved away from those regions, it still affects us because these people are suffering, and it's something that really we should keep in account in all our activities and make dua for them. Also, Martin Luther King Jr. Day passed just recently on Monday, and one quote that he says is, an injustice that happens anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Meaning that if anyone in any part of the world is suffering, going through some sort of injustice, that should affect us. It's a threat to our justice, and for many reasons that, you know, having a global effect, and we should have compassion for others as well. So inshallah, now we're going to do United States because we do live here and we undergo a lot of like the stereotypes and prejudices that especially post 9/11. So I'm going to hand it back to Ali and she can present on that.
So now that I depressed you quite a bit, we'll come a little locally. So this is not as macabre, but it's still something that has been irritating me because I see it every day when I go to work. This wonderful ad. This is a Subway ad. I don't know how many people by show of hands have seen this. Their Subways. Right, quite infuriating. So this is a new anti-Islam, it is anti-Islam Subway ad, and it is made possible by this woman named Pamela Geller, who is the director of American Freedom Defense Initiative. MTA, the New York City Transit Association, did not want to print these ads, but they were taken to court and sued, and so now they have to. But at least they took like a big chunk of the ad to put this big disclaimer there, so at least that's nice of them. And another thing to note is those websites on top, for example, the truthaboutquran.com, just about these websites, you know, for us, we need to be wary. You know, it sounds like something like, oh, Truth About Quran, let me go to this website, but it's just anti-Islam propaganda, you know. Okay, and so this was, yeah, so those ads are going to be up for January, and these were the ads that preceded it. I think in the month, yeah, so December, all through December. So this is what started all. I'll read it. In a war between the civilized man and the savage, support the civilized man, support Israel, defeat jihad. Right? Automatically implying, if you don't support Israel, you're a savage. That's not really nice. Right? So that provoked a lot of people. It's basically hate speech. And they reacted, and so some of our Christian and Jewish brothers and sisters are very sweet, and they responded with ads like these, very simple, but they get to the point, and I found them very touching. So this is one by the Sojourners community. It's a Christian group. It just says, love your Muslim neighbors, right? Here's another one, hate speech is not civilized. Support peace in word and deed. And you can see all of these wonderful donors. That's very nice of them to chip in and help buy a Subway ad. And this last one, well, not last one, but this is my favorite, hence the smiley face. In the choice between love and hate, choose love. And these are by rabbis for Justice for Humanity. Choose love, help stop bigotry against our Muslim neighbors. There's another one here. It's not in New York, but there are similar ads Pamela Geller has run, basically I think California as well, and probably all across the United States. So it's just something to be aware of. And here was one that I really I liked that was shown in Colorado. Love thy neighbor, peace, harmony, friendship, and it has an ayat from the Bible and the Torah and the Quran, you know, which I thought was really helps promote unity, you know, across humanity, and helps also promote justice, right? So what are one of the principles of our religion, right? We have Tawheed, Adl, Nabuwwat, Imam Qiyamah, Adl, right? Adl is justice. So that's something that, as followers of, you know, Prophet Mohammad and Imam Ali, that we need to be very, you know, keen on. Okay. Before I hand this back to Brother Sarfraz so that we can read the sermon, I just want to have everyone read a Surah Fatiha for all the mu'mineen and mu'minat who have been suffering in the world. And also, also for Dr. Hassan Alam, who died in a target killing incident. He's the uncle of Sister Annie, who's not here today. She comes to Al-Qaim. And also for Sister Iram Naqvi, who passed away on Wednesday here in New York. So please read us a song. Please recite Surah Fatiha. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
I just have one more small announcement for you guys. So on February 2nd, there will be an event at Imam Ali Center from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. It's going to be a Prophet Mohammad poetry open mic session with Dr. Sadiq Qasim. And for more information, you can go on the iiny.org website or the IINY Library Facebook page. So that's February 2nd, 4:30 to 6:30. One loud salawat, please. So hopefully everyone received that handout that we were passing out. So if you haven't, you can get one from Brother Fahad in the back of the room. That is one of the final sermons that Prophet Muhammad said to the people, to the Ummah. And it's a very important one because there's a lot of important things about Akhlaq that are inside this sermon. So we're just going to go over it. So we divided it up into segments. So the first segment I'll read, and inshallah some volunteers can come and read the other segments. And we're going to have some prize given out to anyone who volunteers. So hopefully that's an incentive for you guys to volunteer. So this I'm just going to read out loud for you guys. O people, lend me an attentive ear, for I know not whether after this year I shall ever be amongst you again. Therefore listen to what I am saying to you very carefully, and take these words to those who could not be present here today. O people, just as you regard this month, this day, this city as sacred, so regard the life and property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. Return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. Hurt no one, so that no one may hurt you. Remember that you will indeed meet your Lord, and that He will indeed reckon your deeds. So we're going to dissect this segment and pick out the important parts that we should give attention to. So we're going to start off with this one line the Prophet says, return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. So what does that mean exactly? Anyone want to venture a guess what that means? By raise a hand. Anyone? Just give me your opinion. All right, I'll start us off then. So Allah says in the Holy Quran, I have one surah that I want to reference to this. One ayat. In Surah Mu'mineen verse 8, there's a verse, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَعُونَ. So this verse means, surely only those believers who guard the properties of others, entrust it to them, and keep their promises have achieved success. So Allah is mentioning this in the Quran, and I'm sure there's many other places Allah might have mentioned this in the Quran, and Prophet is calling attention to it again. Guard the property of others, and respect what is entrusted to you. So this encompasses many things. This could encompass physical property. If someone lends you a DVD, a book or something, you might think, hey, it's just a DVD, it's just a pencil, you know, what's the big deal? But if you lose it, that's on you, right? And I know many of us have been in school. We face a situation where there's a person next to us, he says, hey, do you have a pencil? And you think, oh my God, here we go again. I'm never going to get this pencil back. And chances are you might not have, but that's why this is so important. Because in your mind you might think, I don't like that guy because he stole my pencil. But if he gave you your pencil back, you'll say in your mind, yo, that's a cool guy, he gave me my pencil back. So these small things, they're very small, but they add to your akhlaq, and they make you look like a better person. And yeah, they make you look like a better person, and they're good in their ways to improve ourselves. So another thing is, non-physical, an intangible thing would be something like a promise. So let me give you an example with Prophet Muhammad. So the Prophet, one of his companions was Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. So there's a small story with this. It's not really much of a story, it's a little anecdote, where the Prophet said to his companion, he said to Jabir, give my salam. He's asking Jabir to give his salam to his great-great-grandson, which is Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. And that's the whole story. So what we see here is the Prophet is asking Jabir to fulfill this promise for him. And it's very small. All he's saying is say salam to my great-great-grandson. And we might have said a lot of times when we go to someone's house, and let's say I go to somewhere and my sister isn't with me, and then the person whose house I visited, they say, hey, Sir Fraz, tell Sister Alia I said salam alaikum. And I say, yeah. But then I forget when I go home, and I don't do it. But still, this is a promise that we're making. Even if we didn't ask for it, the person is entrusting us with this. So Holy Prophet is entrusting Jabir with this promise to say assalamu alaikum to his great-great-grandson. And it's our duty to fulfill any promise. This is a small one, and then there could be larger promises. So when someone makes this promise, when we make a promise for somebody, we have to make sure to fulfill it, because that reflects on ourselves. That's part of our akhlaq. Alright. So this another line is, hurt no one, so that, actually, you know what, before I go on, I want to bore you with one more small story, because I just came to my mind. This is a story about Imam Ali. It's another small anecdote. So one time Imam Ali was, he was just sitting down and he was doing some like accounting work for the treasury. And two individuals came in, Talha and Zubair, and they wanted to speak to Imam Ali while he was doing this. And Imam Ali was sitting at that desk with his parchment out, and he had a candle lit. So when the two brothers came in, he turned off that candle, he took out a new candle, and he lit that candle, and then he said to Talha and Zubair, alright, go ahead. And then when they saw this, they wondered, what is this? What's Imam Ali doing? Why did he take out this new candle? What does this mean? So they asked him, and he said, why did you do this? Imam Ali said, because that first candle was being used for official purposes. That first candle was paid for by the treasury. So I can only use it for the purposes of, business purposes for the treasury. So when I'm on my own time, I have to use my own property. And his own property was that new candle that he took out. So this is a very intense thing, because probably none of us will do something like this, but obviously the Imams and the Prophet, they're at the apex of akhlaq. So they're going to give us these extreme examples where even for something as small as a candle, they're going to pay attention to it. And they're going to say, hey, that's not my property, so I'm not going to use it on my own time. So that's another small anecdote. So this other line we're going to look at, hurt no one so that no one may hurt you. I don't think this needs any explanation. It's very simple. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. If you don't want someone to give you dirty looks, if you don't want someone to use curse words at you, then don't do that. Don't backbite against them either. Just treat people with respect, and inshallah, they will return the favor. Alright, so when we go on, can we have a volunteer to read the next segment? Anyone? Yes, sister. If you want, you can read it with the microphone.
Allah has forbidden you to take usury, interest. Therefore, all interest obligations shall henceforth be waived. Your capital, however, is yours to keep. You will neither inflict nor suffer any iniquity. Allah has judged that there shall be no interest, and that all the interest due to Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, Prophet's uncle, shall henceforth be waived. Beware of Satan for the safety of your religion. He has lost all hope that he will never be able to lead you astray in big things. So beware of following him in small things.
What's your name? Thank you, Sister Aya, for reading that next segment for us. So let's look at the important parts of this segment. Satan has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things. So beware of following him in small things. So what are these big things, small things he's talking about? Anyone want to raise your hand and give me a guess? Yes, brother. Good. Right, so the small thing, what's your name, brother? Yeah, Brother Ali is saying, he gave us an example of one of the small things, like stealing someone's pen. So what that's categorized under is Gunaya Saghira, the small sins. So at the same time, the big things is obviously going to be the Gunaya Kabira, the large sins, the bigger sins, lying, stealing, murdering somebody, adultery, those things. So what it's saying is, we as Muslims, we know what all these big sins are. And sometimes we think to ourselves, I'm never going to murder someone. That's a big sin. I'm never going to do that. So we're already inherently guarded against those sins. But what we need to be aware of, what Prophet is saying here, is the small sins. So Satan might give up on convincing you to commit a big sin, but he's going to get at you with those small sins. And those small sins, they include things like backbiting. A lot of us know people, or we've heard people backbite against other people, and this is a small sin. And Sheikh Salani mentions this a lot of times. He says, you might think, you might think something is a small sin, but the second you think of it, so the second in your mind you think that, hey, this is no big deal, it's a small sin, then it becomes a bigger sin right there. And then again, you might commit the same sin over and over again, and it becomes greater and greater in that way. So the next segment, if another volunteer can come up and read it. Brother Ali. Big salam for Brother Ali. He didn't raise his hand, so I'm forcing him to go up here.
Salat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali.
O people, it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken... O people, listen to me in earnest. Worship Allah. Say your 5 daily prayers, salah. Fast during the month of Ramadan, and give your wealth in zakat. Perform Hajj if you can afford to. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action. Learn that every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. Nothing shall be legitimate to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim, unless it is given freely and willingly. Do not, therefore, do injustice with yourselves. Remember, one day you will have to appear before Allah and answer to your deeds. So beware. Do not stray from the path of righteousness when I'm gone.
Thank you. Ali, you have a prize. That's all for Brother Ali. Alright, so let's quickly go over this important thing. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab. So I won't repeat the whole thing because we're short on time. But basically what Prophet is saying is don't be racist. Do not be racist. And unfortunately, racism is still around, even in the US where we say it's a free country and racism is gone or whatever. But all over the globe, racism is here. And sometimes it's been taken to such bad levels, such extreme levels. Like in the past we had the Holocaust, which everyone is aware of. That was due to racism. In 1995, I believe, there was also another genocide where over a million people were killed in Rwanda. And similar things have been happening all over the globe in countries which even I haven't even heard of. It's very saddening, it's very sickening. So, another segment, another volunteer. Another different volunteer, please. Yes, brother, thank you.
O people, no prophet or apostle will come after me, and no new faith will be born. Reason well, therefore, O people, understand words which I convey to you. I leave behind me 2 things, the Quran and my example, the Ahlul Bayt, and if you follow these, you will never go astray. All those who listen to me shall pass on my words to others, and those to others again. And may the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. Be my witness, O Allah, that I have conveyed your message to your people.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
What? Oh, was it? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, you got the next one, I believe. All right, so I have one quick question for anyone. It's a very easy question. What was that hadith that we just read right here, where the Prophet's leaving behind 2 things? What's the name of that hadith? Yes, sister. Hadith al-Qaim. Thank you, sister. So this is a hadith that everyone should know the name about. Very important. The Prophet is leaving behind 2 things: the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. Hadith al-Qaim. So the Prophet says, may the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. So who are the last ones? The last ones that's us. That's us that the Prophet is referring to. The people during the time of the final Imam. The people during the time of Imam Zamana. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he's saying that he thinks it's very important for us, even though we are not in the presence of the Holy Prophet, and we're basically going by the teachings that have been handed down, but it's important for us to be a follower more than anyone else. Because if it's not us, my dad was speaking to us before everyone got here, and he was saying that if we die, then there's no one left, right? We're the only ones, we're the successors of Islam. So if we don't follow Islam, if we don't keep the message alive, if we don't keep the vision of the Prophet alive, no one else will. So it's important for us to keep going. And we have one final thing, which my sister forced me to put in this PowerPoint. So I'm just going to read this, a few points about the Prophet's Akhlaq. The Prophet was the most modest. When he was an attendant in the house, he sat in the last place. This is like when we have a table, the head of the household usually sits at the head of the household, the head of the table, like the king chair. But the Prophet didn't do that. He sat at the last chair because he was very modest. In his house, he helped his wives. He also used to milk his ewe, which is a female sheep. So this is saying that he used to do housework, you know? He didn't just sit down and just do nothing. So he helped his wife, he helped his family, and, you know, he patched his garment himself, he repaired his slippers, he served himself, he carried his goods from the mart, he sat with the poor, he ate with the needy. So he didn't have arrogance, you know? This is the Prophet, and he has such a high stature, but he was doing these things which, you might say that, hey, why doesn't his slave just do it? Or why doesn't his servant just do it? No, Prophet didn't think like that. One more small hadith right here in the Al-Kafi, Usul Al-Kafi, which is several volumes of hadith are available in here. There is nothing good in life except for two kinds of people: a scholar who is obeyed and an audience who listens carefully. This is a saying from the Prophet, and I think that's a good saying to lead us into the speech by Brother Hassan, so we can all sit as good listeners and be an audience to him as scholar, so he can give us knowledge and we can take in that knowledge. So last salawat for Brother Hassan.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One more salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.